So firstly, I'd like to thank Liz, Maura, Vincent and everyone at the part of the Grassland Conference for inviting us up here to speak today. It's a great privilege for both of us to be up here. So I'm just going to touch a small bit on our story, a small bit on our background and what we looked for in an opportunity to find the farm. So look, our story is that myself and David both aren't from farming backgrounds. My mum works in the hospital, dad's a nurse, David's mum also works in the hospital, and his dad's an electrician. But we had always grown up around livestock, whether it be on David's side, his uncle was milking 50 cows, and on my side we would have had suckling and sheep. So that's kind of where it came from there. The growth for me and for farming, I suppose, came when I did my TY project and I went to a local dairy farmer and I just fell in love with cows, and I just knew from there on that I wanted to definitely do something around the animal sector. So I actually really wanted to study veterinary, but that didn't happen. So I went to WIT for 4 years, and also during that time I went to New Zealand for 7 months. And I was exposed to like really good farmers out there. I was milking 1,200 cows, and the plan was to come home, finish the degree, and I wanted to go back out to New Zealand to go dairy farming for 2 or 3 years just to get a bit of experience under my belt. But during that time, I suppose when I came home, I did well in my degree, got offered a Welsh Scholar with Teagasc, and I worked with Teagasc then, so I did 2 years under the Welsh Scholar, and then I went on to do dairy advising below in Middleton in Cork for a year. So that is my story, I suppose. Decided then, COVID hit, and I was kind of milking for farmers morning and evening because we were working at home, and I just knew that the dairy farming lifestyle was for me. There was nothing wrong with the Teagasc office. We had it was a great job. I really enjoyed it, and I suppose I learned an awful lot from that experience that I was able to bring to the table then when we did actually go into a farm partnership. David then, I suppose, finished college in 2014, worked in Teagasc for a year, and then decided to go to New Zealand, where he worked on 3 farms for 3 years out there. He came back then in 2018 and took over the Greenfield farm for the final 18 months of that in Kilkenny. Then I went on to manage a large-scale farm below in Wexford, managing 510 cows. So David had the background of the scale behind him, which really stood to us then when we went and decided to go looking for something ourselves. So I suppose what we were looking for, an opportunity for us then. So I suppose the big thing for us was who we were going to be working with, and surrounding ourselves with positive people throughout our careers before we went farming together definitely stood to us, and it's something I'll tell every young person out here today, to make sure that you're surrounding yourselves with positive, I suppose, like-minded farmers that are going to give you that kick when you need it, and they're not going to cut you down and stuff like that, because that definitely stood to us. And then I suppose the landowner, it's very important that, I suppose, if you're looking for something, that you're getting into business with the right people. It's grand going into a farm, it might, the perfect facilities might be exactly what you're looking for, but if the people aren't right, down the line it's probably just going to make life hard for you. So we definitely looked at all opportunities with our eyes wide open in terms of that. Then in terms of scale, I suppose, because both of us wanted to go farming full time, it meant that we both had to draw off the farm for us to have a living. So we were looking at the start at 200 cow plus. We'd both be working full time, and we'd have enough there for a bit of relief milking. So that was the opportunity we were going to look for. Location, to an extent, we were looking for a farm for 3 years at the start. It had to be within an hour of where I'm from in Galway, or an hour from where David's from in Kilkenny. At the end, if someone said to us once more, what's for you won't pass you, you know, we just had enough of it, like, you know, because if we heard it once more, it was tough going, like, and there was so many opportunities that we looked at, and that, you know, maybe I thought might have been right, and David didn't think it was right, and, you know, we had to compromise and be like, you know, he threw what he thought was good on the table, and I said, you know, the pros and the cons, and we to line things up, and there was plenty of opportunities that we walked past because they actually just weren't the right opportunity for us. And we are so grateful that we did stall the ball and wait for the opportunity that we did, definitely. Then another thing, I suppose, for us was the soil type to an extent, I suppose, and the ability to grow grass. We're both two grass-driven people. You know, our aim is to feed 800 to 900 kilos of meal where we can at all, and drive on the whole grass utilisation and all that kind of stuff. Infrastructure then, obviously, anyone here that's thinking of, I suppose, getting out of, you know, maybe passing it on to the next generation, or, you know, maybe there isn't a next generation there for you. Whatever you do, if you're planning on retiring in the next 5 years, stay spending money on your yard, because it's the making or breaking of people like myself and David. You know, you can ask for your extra 50 or 80 euro an acre because you actually have the infrastructure there. But if myself and David had to go in the morning and spend 250,000 euro on, you know, with any type of concrete, you know, it just limits us big time. And then I suppose I put up finance here, so I suppose there's two sides to this. So the financial side of it was any opportunity that we looked at went into an Excel sheet, and I suppose if the figure at the end of it didn't work for us, like that was fairly cutthroat then. You know, we weren't going messing around with figures, you know, trying to pay extra for land when we knew in our heart and soul that we actually wouldn't be able to pay for it regardless of how hard we worked. And then I suppose some of the downfalls that we had was, I suppose, accessing money from banks and finding the right opportunity. But it's great, I suppose Donald definitely touched on a few things that even we didn't realise until we had a meeting about 8 weeks ago in the Horse and Jockey, and you know, it does open your eyes. And I think Donald definitely touched base on the whole unsecured money for the likes of myself and David, and I'm sure there's plenty of young people here that are dying to get going, and it's great to see that there is opportunity arising for us. So that's me finished, thank God for now.
Yeah, so I'm just going to talk about, I suppose, where we are now. So as Katie said, we kind of gave a few years looking for the ideal opportunity, and yeah, it took a lot of patience and perseverance, and there was tough days and everything else. But I suppose back in April 2024, then we were approached about a farm near Kilkenny City that we would have heard bits and pieces about before, and yeah, I suppose we were approached to go into a partnership on that farm, and I suppose the good thing about it was it had the scale that the two of us could work together, which Katie mentioned as well. So yeah, I suppose we did a lot of looking at the farm and, you know, running figures and talking to people about it and stuff like that. And I suppose the people that approached us came with a very good proposal, and I suppose that made the whole process very quick. Like they offered kind of what they offered we liked, and I suppose it just made the whole process. There was no tough negotiations, or you know, it just made it so easy. And I suppose that was a big thing for us when we saw that coming at the start. It kind of gave us a bit of trust in the boys as well, and yeah, it just really got off to a good start. So yeah, so I suppose we're farming in a registered farm partnership. That started. It's just going over a year now. So at the minute we own 24% of the partnership, and our business partners own 76%, and we're adding into that then every year up to a maximum of 50%. So it's given us a good opportunity to grow. Like, we wouldn't have started out, you know, we started out at a low level, but it's given us a great opportunity to grow year on year, and that's what we need. Like, we need to be able to reinvest our money into cows and stuff and grow our equity. So yeah, just a bit about that farm, I suppose. Yeah, so as I said, registered farm partnership. We're peak milking about 5-10 crossbred cows. Yeah, 184 hectares all in one block, so it's actually a really nice block of land. we've no road crossings or anything like that. But obviously, yeah, it's fully leased, so like, you know, we have just, you know, we've plenty of costs to deal with. In fairness to the people that set up the farm 10 years ago, it was really well developed, you know, good facilities for milking cows, you know, lots of work on roadways, fence and water, all that kind of stuff. They put together a very good herd of cows as well, which has really stood to us. And obviously it's in a great location. It's just like 3 kilometres from Kilkenny City, so it's good in that regard too. I suppose, yeah, our final slide then, I suppose, what's next for us. So, you know, obviously there's the opportunity where we are to continue to build equity within that business. So I suppose that's probably one of our main priorities. And I suppose we're looking at ways then of building more equity and, you know, putting money into other things to try and, you know, just try and get ahead a bit more. So, you know, we've a lot of surplus AI bred heifer calves coming this spring, so the plan is to rear some of them and to have them there. You know, whether we'll ever milk them or not, we're not sure, but it'll be just something there and a bit of an interest for us as well. And then I suppose, you know, long term we kind of want to grow our thing, and I suppose, yeah, we'd like to take on a second unit. I suppose the thing always was that we kind of wanted to milk our own cows, and you know, the partnership we're in has been great and it has got us kind of going, but you know, it's I suppose we see it as a step on the ladder for our future. And, yeah, excited to see what the future holds, I suppose. That's it. Thanks.